Hi, and welcome to this episode of Crest Tech, where we're going to be building our first web page. We're going to be working with languages such as HTML, CSS, and we're going to be creating a few little extra effects with this. So if you're excited, let's get right into it. We're going to be looking at how to build a web page, and we're going to add a few nifty things to this. And what we're going to do is just get straight in by first of all showing you what we're going to be building. So here's our first built web page. As you see, I've added a little title, got some flex boxes, down here a footer, and as you probably noticed already, got a little bit of a hover effect on the boxes. So with that in mind, we're going to jump straight in and get started. I'm just going to pull this to the side so we can see that at all times. I'm going to jump over here and you can see the code. We're just going to go ahead and get rid of that, save, and we're going to clear it from here. We're also going to get rid of our CSS. There we go, that's all done. So with that in mind, over here on the side you can see our folders. We got our images, we got our index.css, and we got our index.html. So we're going to go ahead and start building. HTML:5 tab, and there we go. We're going to get our head there very quickly. That there is just a very quick shortcut just to get you straight in, create a head, rather than having to tediously always input it. So what we're going to do is name this my first web page. And there we go, nice and easy. We're also just going to very quickly now add in our link, relationship, and style sheet. So we're going to connect our CSS right from the very start. And we're going to find the file. It's going to be index.css. What is wrong with me? I am struggling to type at the moment. There we go, perfect. Now, to build our page, we need to create our commented section so that we know what we're working with and we know where we're going to be placing each part. So, open tag, exclamation mark, and 2 dashes, and that's our commented section. Now, within this, we're just going to keep it very brief, but we also want to make sure it's descriptive enough that so anyone looks at our page, they know exactly where it is and what it is. So, we're going to say, as you saw on the web page, header section with background image and title. And that's it. We're going to add a little space, jump that down, and then we're going to do the same thing. Another comment section, we're going to say body section with display flex box. This is with title. Nice and easy. Doing well so far. Okay, we're going to go and add one more commented section, and this is going to hold our footer. So, footer section with copyright text. And there we go, easy peasy. Now, just what we've done there, although we create our comment sections, we now need to go ahead and actually create our code. So we're just going to save, and we're just going to very quickly just test this. Let's just create a p tag, and hello world, everything should be working fine, is it? Oh, it seems something's not working. Oh, there we go. We just needed to refresh. Perfect. So we know that it's all connected, it's all working fine, and the server is running live. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to jump straight in and create our sections. So for this, we're going to have an opening tag of section, and then down below, we're going to close that up. There we go. Now, with inside of here, we need to create an extra div tag. Because although we have a section, we want another div tag within inside of that, which is going to hold our text. We had a title, and underneath that title, we had a little bit more text. So all we do is we're just going to call it H2, because H2 is the second largest text that you can get without styling anything. So here we can say, my first web page, exclamation mark, save that, boom, nice and large. And then below that, we're going to create just a span tag. And we're going to say, let's create some magic. Oh, some magic. And there we go. There's our header text. We're almost there, but we just need to start building the rest of the sections. So, although we have a top header section, we need to now create our body. Within the body, we're going to do section. And now we need to create 6 boxes, which we saw, which is going to hold an image, and it's also going to hold a title. To do so, we're just going to create a div tag, and we're going to separate each part of it. So you're going to say within here, we'll give it a 4, and we're going to say box 1. Underneath that, we had an image. So we're going to say image source, and we're just going to close that for now. That's all we need. Now, with that in mind, we need to now go ahead and create 6 of these. So there's one. And we're going to just quickly jump through this nice and quick. So not to slow down. Oh. And there we go. Just name these differently so we know exactly what we're working with. Almost there. Last one. Excellent. Save that. What have we got? Perfect. So now we've got different portions here, all separated, so we know that we've got 6 boxes, but no images to start with. We're going to come back to those images in a moment. We're just going to jump into our footer, and we're going to say another section. And as you remembered with this, all we had was a bit of text. So we're just going to say paragraph, so a P tag, and then we're going to say Cres Tech, and we want to copyright that. So copyright tag is followed by an and sign with copy and then semicolon. And there we go. But we're just going to do one little bit. We're going to break the line, drop it down below by a BR tag, enter, and we're going to say this has been an awesome project. There we go. There's our content. Although we are missing the images, that is everything that we need written wise. So what we're going to go ahead and do is add in our images. And as we can see over here, they are one level above. So we're going to, inside the image source, inside the quote marks, we're going to slash images, and we're just going to select each one. So going to work our way down here. And what you'll notice is that although we're just adding in the images, nothing will be appearing for the moment, but the minute we save with our images in place, there we go. All of a sudden, our images are on the page. We're just going to pop that out a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Now, what we need to do is start styling, because all the content is on the page, and that's great, but we need it to look like what we saw at the very start. To do this, we need to start working in our CSS. So, first of all, in our HTML, sorry about that, we need to start adding classes. And this class is what we're going to be referencing in our index.css. So let's go ahead. We're going to say in our top section, keep the naming convention nice and easy to read and remember as well. Class is going to be header, and we're going to follow the camel case way of things. So that means every other word will be followed by a capital letter at the start of it. So header, capital, container. There we go. Save that. Perfect. Now in our index.css, we need to reference this. So we're going to say header, container. So we've called that class, which is located on our HTML. And because we in our HTML head, we have called that CSS sheet. So now they are linked. So whatever we call in here by the class will be linked to our HTML by that head tag. So we're going to say header container, and we're going to test it. We want to say give a width of 100% to the header container. But not just that though, we want that lovely background image. So we're going to say background image, and we're going to close that. I'm going to call it by its URL, almost like the image tag that you saw on the HTML. And we're going to say you are in our images, and you are at night sky. There we go. But what's going to happen when we save that? Oh dear, nothing's appearing. Well, why is that the case? Well, it's because we need to add a little bit of a height. So we're going to say 80 pixels. Refresh that. Still nothing. Well, there's usually always something missing which is causing the problem. So there seems to be an issue why it's not working. So let's go back and very quickly just review what could it be that's not allowing the image to appear. So as we can see, class looks fine. Let's check our HTML. And what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in a little bit more. We're going to see, does it connect up? No. Well, I'll give you a moment. Can you see what's the error? Well, as you can see, it's right here. We misspelled style sheet, which is incredibly important if you ever want anything to work as it should. HTML CSS is very specific. Anything code-wise is very specific on wording. You must make sure you get it exactly correct. So that E stopped it from appearing. Well, that's great. Now I'm just looking a little bit wrong. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to change the background. Size. And we're going to say cover. And there we go. What we've done is we pulled the image in. So it looks a lot better now. However, our text has disappeared. So we need to go ahead and sort that out now. Well, first of all, we're going to change our div. And then we're going to give it a class. So we're going to say header inner because it's inside of the container. So we want to keep the naming convention nice and clean. We're going to say header inner here. And we want to see if we can find it. Well, let's go and change the color. Does it appear? Well, perfect. There it is. However, we want to go one step further. Let's make our header a little bit bigger. There you go. And we're also going to give this a text align of center. It's center and that's great, but now we need to drop it down. So although we've pulled this into the center, we now want to bring it down to the actual center of the image. So we're just going to we'll give it a padding top, and let's try 50 pixels, a little bit too much. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say 25 pixels. Perfect. And there we go. Now I'm happy with that. So with that in mind, we're going to move on to the next step. Now, what we had before was all these images were perfectly in line with one another and they had a hover effect. So to do so, let's jump to our HTML, scroll down, and let's give this section, first of all, a class. We want to say we need to give you a class of body container. And there we go, perfect. Now, inside of that, we're going to go over here and we're going to zoom this out a little bit so you can see exactly what's happening. We're going to call the class. Let's say body container. Now that's great, but how do we get them in line? Well, first things first, we need to give the whole entire container that's holding everything inside of it, and we're going to say we're going to give you a width of 100%. Well, what happens if we do that? Unfortunately, nothing, because even these images are running to 100%, so they're running across the screen. Well, let's try and add display flex. Well, something's appeared and the image has gone side by side. And that's great, but it's now run off the screen. We don't want that. So we're going to put it back and we're going to say we want them to wrap, which means that when it goes to the edge of the screen, it flops or wraps, there's another better word to use, underneath one another. Perfect. And there we go. But they're still too close. So to correct that, we're going to go justify content and we're going to say we want to space you evenly. Perfect. There we go. Look at that. Looks brilliant. However, the text is not in line. We want to correct that. So although the text is aligned to the left, apologies, I'm struggling to talk. We're going to go in our div container and we want to say, we'll say class of box single. Nice and easy name convention. Looks good. I'm going to copy that. And apologies for this. I'm just going to jump through very, very quickly. Add all of these to their boxes. And I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so I'm just going to go and add some space in here to keep everything nice, neat, and tidy. Excellent. I'm happy with that. However, we have our classes on our single boxes. What are we going to do with that? Well, we're going to go ahead. We're going to say box single, and let's just do something nice and easy. Well, let's text align center, and there we go. But the text is a little bit small, so we're just going to go ahead and we're going to resize that a little bit. Let's give it 22 pixels, and there we go. Perfect. Now I'm happy with that. Got our header. We got our boxes. Well, our text in the footer is looking a little bit off at the moment. So for our final section, we're going to jump back to HTML. We're going to scroll down to our bottom section. We're going to say class footer container, following the camel case convention of writing our classes. There we go. We're going to save that. We want to, in our footer, pop that class name in. We had a black background, so we're going to say background color of black, and we're also going to give, well, we're going to give it a little bit of a height, because as you can see, it's a little bit thin. So we're just going to say 80 pixels. Perfect. Now it's almost there. However, our text has disappeared, and that is because by default your text will always come through in the color black. So we want to change that. We're just going to say color, which is going to reference our text, and we're going to say white. And there we go. Perfect. Although it's still a little bit off, text align, get that to the center, and as we saw on the top, we're going to give that a padding. We're just going to go 20 pixels. Now, I'm happy with that, and hopefully you are too. Bear in mind, you can change any of these numbers. I want you to change them. I want you to see what it's like if you do this, you do that, you change the pixels, you change the height. What happens if you change the color of the background? Or what happens if you change the justified content to something different? I want you to experiment, but in this case, for now, as we move along, we're just going to follow this and we're going to see what happens as we get towards the end. So, font size, we're going to 20 pixels, make it a little bit bigger, but doing so means we just want to reduce this and we're just going to go 15. Now, I'm happy with that. On to the next step. We now have our web page, which is excellent, and if we grab the side of it, we scroll out, as you can see, everything is on the page, looks lovely, but it's missing something very important, something that we showed you at the start, which was the hover effect. When you hovered over the box, it expanded, it grew in size. We need to add that in. Well, this is a little bit of a trick, this one. This is transform and transition, and what we're going to do is we're going to use those to scale our boxes. Now, to do so, we need to scroll up to the top, and we need to work on our box single. Well, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to give it a hover effect. And what that is if we call it by its class, say box single colon hover. Now, what that's saying in CSS is when you hover on this box, do something. Well, okay, box single hover, we want you to transform. But what happens when you transform? Well, we want you to scale. Scale to what? Well, scale brackets, and let's say I want you to scale to 1.5 the times of your current size when I hover. Well, let's find out. Look at that. Excellent. We know that works, and as you can notice, it scales it to the exact size we asked for, but it's a little bit sharp. So first of all, let's just reduce that so we can see a little bit easier. There we go, 1.2, so we want to scale it to 1.2 times the size of the current image when we hover over it. But we want to make it smooth, we want to make it transition over a period of time. To do so, we don't call it on the hover, we tell it what to do when we hover on it, but in the previous class. So box single, without the hover effect, we want to say transition. And what this does is it says, the transition phase of the transform aspect that you are calling, this here, transform, we want it to be over a period of 2 seconds. Well, what happens? Look at that. It's saying we want you to hover over that period of time and transform. Now, it looks great. Everything is scaling to the correct size that we want, but we just want down here to add a little bit of margin to this footer container so that it doesn't overlap with the image. Well, to do so, we're just going to say in our footer container margin top, and we're going to say 20 pixels. Ooh, well, let's go a little bit more. Let's say 50 to really push it out of the way. Perfect. And let's scroll out. Let's see what that looks like. And there we have it. We have our footer, we have our images hovering, and we have our header. Perfect. You have created your very first web page. But we are not finished yet. We still have one very important thing that has been missed. And I'm hoping that during this video, you watching it, you have seen or noticed what it is. But if you haven't, I'm now going to tell you exactly what it is, and we're going to look at how to correct it. And it's this round the edge of our page. As you notice, in our footer, there's a gap. In our header, there's a gap. That there is the margin. Unfortunately, by default, there is a margin that has been added to the page. Well, the only way to correct that, Pause. There's a margin, unpause. There's a margin that's been added to our web page around the edge. Now, to correct that, we need to go ahead and actually remove the margin that is by default being added to our page. Well, I'm just going to pull this to the side again. There we go, scale that. And in doing so, we're going to scroll right to the top. We're going to drop that down and we're going to call the body. We're going to call the entire page and we're going to ask it to remove its margin by saying margin 0 pixels. And I want you to watch what happens to the corner here. Let's save that and there we go. It's disappeared. So let's scroll out. Let's see our web page in its full glory. And there we go. We've now removed the margin from the outside. And we've also got our boxes, the hover effect. We've got our footer. Now, there are other things that you can do. For example, these boxes here, they stretch to the outside all the way to the edges. And you can change that very easily. We can go into inspect. We can have a little look. Let's just zoom in a little bit. And we could always turn around and say, well, you know, our body container, it's great that it goes to 100%. But actually, by doing so, it leaves ones down below. Well, instead of 100%, we're going to say we want to give it a max width. And we're going to say the max width, we just want it to be 1000 pixels. So now it's only stretching as far as that 1000 pixels, as you can see from the blue square, from left to right. But it's gone to the side now. So to correct that, we also just want to go ahead and when we want to add margin also. And that's just helping it to align itself center. So now we've got 1000 pixels. So the boxes fall inside of that and it's centered in the page. So now it looks a lot better. If we scroll out, what happens? There we go. Perfect. So now it's a lot cleaner, a lot better. So that's our first web page. I hope you've had fun with that. And the main thing with this is experiment, try things, test it out, change the values of everything you've been working with and see what happens. It's more exciting by giving it a go and experimenting. But if you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe and like the video. And with that in mind, I'll see you on the next one.